I weigh a lot less now than I did when I lived in America. I lost like many kilograms just from moving outside.
From leaving America.
Yeah.
Hello.
My name is Cameron. I'm from the US.
Hi, I'm Lauren from the UK. All Americans are rich. I think in general we have an image, like the American dream. Everyone has like the big detached house with the 4x4 car and a lot of money. In general, that's what we think.
Is that all?
Even like the California people, they have the beach houses and whatever, and then everyone from New York also has a house in the Hamptons and all of that kind of stuff. And people in the South have a big ranch, it's the American dream image that we all think about.
I mean, I would definitely say that so obviously you never want to overgeneralize because there are, in America, the people that have a lot and people that don't have a lot. And I think in media, a lot of times, obviously it's more interesting to see rich people's houses and stuff. So that comes out a lot. But I will say, traveling outside of America, there are many things that I thought were normal that upon later inspection in other countries were of the privileged few. So yeah, where I'm from, we have a lot of land. So living on a house that has a certain amount of land isn't a big deal. And where I live, a lot of people have swimming pools because they don't really cost a lot.
I didn't know that, but if you look at a £300,000 house, what it can buy you in the UK is, in London, a tiny, tiny house.
Yeah.
But in America, you can buy a giant mansion somewhere in Texas.
Yeah.
In Texas especially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to New York or LA, San Francisco, Chicago, wherever, there are places that do have very high costs of living. But once you get out of those places, it does become so much more affordable for these things that's not to say that everyone in America has them, because it's definitely, there are poor people everywhere in the world. American idea of what a middle class living is definitely skewed.
Yeah, if you go to the UK with that amount of money, I'm sorry, but it's just not happening.
It's not.
You will not be living the same. In America, you can achieve anything, the American dream. I think for me, with American people, I think they're very positive. They're very motivated to get everything done and achieve their dreams, to have the American dream. This is just my image from TV. And everyone's always like, I'm gonna do great things and I'm gonna change the world.
I mean, I would say in general, Americans are more optimistic than British people. British people will knock you down a peg, let me tell you.
Oh yeah.
Yes, the American dream is kind of like our national narrative. You can come here and do whatever you want. As long as you work hard, you can succeed. And while that may have been at least somewhat true in generations past for certain demographic, I think that now one of the big crises that America's having is that this idea of the American dream is falling apart. So especially among my generation, millennials and younger, we're kind of saying, well, the American dream worked for a lot of our parents. Why is it not
Things
working
were cheaper then.
Yeah, things were cheaper.
Way cheaper and
Well, you have to remember,
lower population.
And that was not too many years after World War II, so Europe was demolished.
Yeah.
The only country that was not bombed essentially was America. So that allowed us to thrive because there was no other people, there was no other country kind of competitively in a capitalistic sense. I think the American dream is definitely breaking down.
In school, you taught, if you do all you can, you'll be successful. I feel like you're all really motivated, and I'm where does it come from?
Where does it come from?
It's nice to see.
Right,
but sometimes I'm just you guys a little too positive about everything,
I think it's just the narrative. Every nation, they have an identity, and that kind of trickles down into every facet of life. And with America, where in Britain, you kind of still have a very high class system, and it's hard to get out of that. In America, that doesn't really exist, so it's much easier for social climbing and
Americans are overly patriotic. Yes. There are American flags everywhere. Literally, no British person would hang a flag outside their house. Okay, actually, some people may hang an English flag.
Oh, that's not a good thing.
And that is, we're not that patriotic in the UK, but when we see Americans, they're just so over the top about everything. And the flags, the hats, USA.
This is something I also didn't realize until I had left the United States, that countries just don't have their national flag everywhere. I think because from a young time, we just we always have it everywhere. I mean, we start sports games with singing the song.
Yeah.
Every day at school in the morning, like you have to stand up, you have to listen to the national anthem, and then you have to like put your hand over your heart and say the pledge to the flag. My school did that every morning. It's just like it's a form of like brainwashing in a sense. Because I mean, you're having these kids doing these patriotic things that they don't really even understand what the words are.
I think it's nice that you like love your country, but I feel like if it's too much, then you won't actually dig into the negatives and then kind of try to change things.
That's the point though. We don't want to look at the bad things because that makes us feel bad.
Well, maybe you should look at them because they are quite bad.
Agreed.
Americans are ignorant about the world. I'm sorry, but it's so true. It's so true. I mean, we don't learn a lot about other countries in history or geography. I mean, we'll learn about Europe. We won't learn about like bad things that we did because we did a lot of bad things. But Americans, I feel like they only learn American history, American geography, and then you have no knowledge about anywhere else in the world.
Yes, I will agree with this, but I will push back. Okay. Yes, Americans pretty much only know about America. However, I would push back and say like Europeans only know about Europe. They don't know anything about Asia generally.
Not really.
Or like South America. And you have to think, the United States and Europe are about the same amount of land.
Oh yeah.
So we're really focusing on the same amount of land and that history. But yeah, I will say that Americans pretty much know only about America. Sometimes they only know about like their state, and it is something we need to correct. But I think because economically we've been on top for so long, we feel that we can ignore countries a lot of times because they're just going to follow what we do anyway. That's not like the actual thought process, but I think like subconsciously that's just
I think it's
the
like
situation.
we're the best. We don't need to care about anyone else.
Her words, not mine.
I don't mean
it's
it
not good.
offensively.
It's not a good thing, and Americans do need to learn about things outside of their borders.
Americans are obsessed with work. I feel like this goes back to when I was like, you guys are so motivated about everything. Like you always try and do your best at everything. Like I feel like give everything and over to do well. So yeah, this kind of goes with workaholism.
Yeah, I will say that some people are like super workaholic, but I think that there are, going back to things like the American dream and like the freedom for like upward mobility and things like that, it has kind of gotten into like our political system in a way that like American workers don't have the protections that like British workers have. You may not have insurance. A lot of women don't get maternity leave. Like there's not a lot of protections for the American worker. So it's kind of become that people have to work for that sense of security. You overwork yourself. I don't think a lot of people just really want to work, but they work so much because yeah, you could do the bare minimum, but like the company's just going to like,
and they can just fire you like immediately.
There are a few protections, but there aren't a ton. So
really scary actually. You can't just like fire someone in the UK.
Yeah, it's like a whole process.
There's a whole
right?
process,
Yeah.
and like sometimes it's more work for them to fire you than to try and like boost you to do better.
Well, because like workers' unions are not very powerful in the US, so there's not a lot of pushback on that. Americans always feel, I guess because of the American dream, at some point I feel like they think that they're going to be successful, so they're going to have a company, so they don't want the strict regulations for the company because they think they're going to be that rich person making all the money. I think that's part of it as well.
It's actually kind of sad that you don't have any kind of like protection around you for
It's
work.
really, yeah, I mean, people do like 2 or 3, or like teachers, they'll do their teaching job and obviously they've got to do the grading after work. And I know a lot of teachers that on weekends and during the summer when school is out, they take on like part-time jobs at like a fast food restaurant or whatever, yeah.
Pay the teachers more. In the UK too. Americans think every country should imitate the USA. So basically, yeah, touching on what we just spoke about, I think American people may see their way as the correct way for everything. However, other countries do things differently. But yeah, sometimes I can feel a bit of a push to, I don't know, not take the American way of doing things, especially not living in the UK. I feel very influenced by American people around me because it's so easy to be influenced by you guys because you just do everything so big and so, I don't know, it just feels like I'm absorbing it. So maybe you guys are pushing it or maybe I'm just easily influenced.
Well, I mean, I think we're a big country with big personality, and there's like this cultural hegemony kind of concept involved with this. Honestly, though, living outside of the US, it makes me really sad countries, for better or worse, are imitating the US. Like, I feel that some of the uniqueness of countries washed away in the name of modernism. Like, think about like 100 years ago. Each country kind of had a different way of dressing, where now we all dress very similarly.
Yeah.
On an individual level, it shouldn't matter what country you're from, like dress however you want to. But it is kind of sad getting out of the USA and seeing that so many things in the world are becoming like the USA.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
Yes.
Yeah, agreed.
Americans eat too much. Yes and no. I don't know whether they eat too much, are they overeating, or whether it's just the portion size that have conditioned them to eat too much.
I mean, in the end, that means they're eating too much.
Okay, true. Yes, they overeat. But yeah, I was really shocked. I watched a video that was comparing the meal sizes from fast food chains in the UK and the US. The small size in the US for like the chips, the fries, it was like bigger than the large size from the UK chain. You do everything so big, and that also includes food. Like, you don't need this much food when there's people starving in the world and you guys are like...
I mean, this is an issue, like it's not just the portion sizes at restaurants. I think that because America a lot of times has this concept of like go big or go home. There's no moderation a lot of times. Yeah, we eat a lot. I go back, so I weigh a lot less now than I did when I lived in America. I lost like 20 kilograms. Just from moving outside.
From leaving America.
Yeah. Because a lot of American food, not just snacks, but also meals, they're just like scientifically calibrated so that you just continuously eat. Like think about when you go to a fast food restaurant and you're eating McDonald's, sometimes you just eat that and you like wolf it down, right? So much of American food is that strain of like addictive.
So Moorish, like you just can't stop.
So it's like salty and sweet and fatty, and like you're not even conscious with like the amount of calories that you're putting down. I would agree that Americans eat way too much.
Way too much. It was interesting. Most of those stereotypes are the ones that I already had in my mind. It was good to hear an opinion back. Americans are great. Please don't take anything I say offensively. I'm just like...
I mean, I think all of these I've heard before, and all of these I like agree with. While I think there is like a reason for the stereotypes, I don't think that makes it an excuse, even though there's maybe a valid reason for why some of these bad characteristics of us exist. It doesn't mean that we can just brush it off like, oh, well, we can't change. We need to be retrospective of and like try and fix to be better people. Yeah. Today, we talked about some stereotypes that other people have about my country, the United States of America.
If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.